Hey everybody, it's me again, Moody Boo, back with another house review for 2020. And this one is by the jewelry house Van Cleef and Arpels. But these perfumes are beautiful. I am super pleased with the whole line. And it started just with this bottle back here. It's Feerie. And it's my least favorite as far as the scent goes of all of them, but I didn't buy it for the scent. I bought it for this incredible bottle. Now, I haven't even touched the scent in years because I didn't like it um, at all when I got it. And so I was like, well, I don't care. I just want it for the bottle. And I got it for a super good price, but it's actually not as bad as I remember. So it has some greenery in there, some violet. There are floral notes, it's kind of a general term. Mandarin, a fruity accord of black currant, jasmine, iris, woodsy accords, and vetiver. And for me, it smells kind of like a metallic iris. It's a very cold iris, and there is some woods in there. I don't get much of the other notes in there, maybe a little bit of fruity at the very top. But when it dries down, it's all I can say is it's kind of a cold metallic iris. And I don't hate it, but I'm not in love with it. I'll probably never wear it because there's a much better representation of iris here. And next up is Rose's Velours. Now, I really thought I was going to love this one. Yes, I blind bought it, whatever. Don't judge. Because somebody had told me it smells very much like a L'Artisan perfume that I loved called Velours de Roses, I believe. But this one is actually prettier than that one. I did a side by side with them, and Velours de Roses is much woodier and much colder of a scent. This one has more rose in it, I feel. Less of a patchouli kind of a vibe. And it's a bit sweeter. The edges are not harsh like they can be with Velours de Roses. And I just find it actually very pretty. And I didn't like it much at first because it wasn't Velours de Roses. So the notes are. The top notes are bergamot and violet. The heart has rose absolute, honey, iris, ambroxan, cedar, and benzoin kind of finish everything out. And I don't get a lot of the ambroxan, the cedar, or the benzoin. And I don't find it to be super, super powdery, but I do see the honey in it. Now that I see what the notes are, I can totally see the honey. It's a beautiful, slightly fruity, sweet, kind of a honeyed rose with maybe a touch of benzoin at the dry down, but it's beautiful. And all of these perform about the same. They're about 6 hours on my skin and about average, about arm's length. So next up, Ambre Imperial, or Amber, potato, with my language skills. So this one would have been higher on the list if the performance was better, but I find this to be the lightest and worst performer of the bunch. The scent is beautiful. It's amber and tonka and vanilla, and there's some resins in there and some wood and some pink pepper and a little bergamot, but it's and it really all boils down to a slightly woody amber with a bit of sweetness to it. And it's really a pretty scent. It's gorgeous. But I have to reapply it several times. It only lasts like 3 hours on my skin. Anyway, I think it's a beautiful scent. I just wish it did better. All right, next up. Orchidee Vanille. This is the very first of these. I don't know if you call them the exclusive line of Van Cleef and Arpels, but it's the first one of this series that I got into. This one used to be my absolute favorite perfume. I wore it all the time. And I went through like 2 or 3 decants before I even started on the big bottle. But as my collection grew, I kind of grew out of love of it with it because there was some other perfumes in its classification, if you will, that I liked better. But it's still a very pretty perfume. It's vanilla and there's some chocolate and some orchid and tonka and bitter almonds and some orange and violet and rose and woods and lychee and musk. And that's a lot to bring you a scent that's very linear. I don't find any depth in this perfume at all, but it's a beautiful, sweet, uh, floral, vanilla kind of a perfume. There's a lot more notes in there than there is scent because it is blended really well. So I cannot pick out a lot of those scents. You do get a little bit of the tonka, but other than that, it's a very pretty perfume, but nowhere close to my favorite out of this line. And next up, Precious Oud. Now, this one at first knocked my socks off. And because I have gone through 2 or 3 bottles of Tom Ford's Black Orchid, and this is very similar. It's really in the same vein as that. But this one, whereas Tom Ford's Black Orchid, it's fairly polarizing because it's got a lot of hard edges to it. It's pretty intense. You can't be a wallflower and wear it really because it garners attention. Good or bad or indifferent, it garners attention. Whereas this one, the Precious Oud, is similar to Black Orchid, but it's like all of the edges have been softened and there's some more sweetness added to it and more airiness to it. It's not nearly as serious as Black Orchid. And the performance is not as good as Black Orchid, I will say. It's almost like a Black Orchid eau de toilette or something. It performs about the same as an EDT. And the notes are tuberose, and there's oud and incense and patchouli and sandalwood and ambergris and jasmine, pink pepper, vetiver, some citruses in there. And like it really, for me, is big on the white florals, the patchouli and the oud, and with a touch of incense, just a touch, not a lot. This is really a pretty perfume. I think if you really like Black Orchid, but wish it was a little more soft and refined, then you should really check out Precious Oud by Van Cleef and Arpels. And I bought this at Ala Moana Shopping Center in Honolulu. So I of course have some sentimental attachment to it as well. All right, next up, Bois de Reefs, or de Reefs, Bois de Reefs. This is gorgeous. Now, this was lower down on my list when I initially made the list from memory, because I had not worn this scent in a long time. I don't remember loving it. I've had it for a while. It's one of my newest rediscoveries. But oh my God, now I am crazy about it. It is unlike Feerie back there. It is a definite iris perfume, but whereas Feerie is cold and metallic, this one is warm and woody and slightly sweet, and it just is gorgeous. It's so pretty. So it's iris and driftwood and vanilla and incense and sugar. And there's some resins in there and some amber and ambergris and some labdanum. So it's just this beautiful iris, sweet, woody kind of a perfume. It's gorgeous. And performance, like all the rest, are about average. It's about arm's length, lasts about 6 hours. So, all right, moving on. All right, last one is Bois Dori. This one knocked my socks off. Oh my God. I got it as it was really random how I got it. I got it as a sample. I don't know. I had bought something and it was just thrown in there. And I hadn't heard of it, and I'd smelled most of Van Cleef and Arpels. So I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Oh my God. It is my favorite Van Cleef and Arpels, hands down. It's gorgeous. Now it's black pepper, some mineral notes, cedar, vanilla, tobacco, almond, tonka, musk, and teak wood. And I'm not sure, but it might be the teak wood that adds that extra little something to it, that star power. I just, it's beautiful perfume. It's slightly sweet, it's woody, you get the cedar in there. I don't get a lot of tobacco, but I definitely get the almonds and the teak wood definitely. The mineral notes add just a hint of coldness to it that almost makes it feel like there's some iris or something in there, but there isn't. It really is beautiful. This one lasts probably closer to 8 hours on my skin, but I do give it 3 good spritzes. And it's pretty beastly for the first, most of these are for about 5-10 minutes, but then they settle right down. And they're just normal arm's length for most of them. Some of them aren't that good, but well, there you go. There's a house review of Van Cleef and Arpels. And I'll probably be back later. All right. Peace.